this is a really big bombshell story, and I don't think I'll be able to do this story its full justice in this because there's so much information. So I please beg you to go read the article on ProPublica and anywhere else that there are articles talking about this. I'm going to be reading to you guys from the CNN one here because there's so much information about this, but this is a very important story about the opioid crisis. The opioid crisis has been insane. People being overprescribed opioids. They get in some sort of an injury, they get given opioids, and they're fucking hooked, and they just keep going and going, and they can't stop because they're extremely addictive. So this is Oxycontin is what we're going to be talking about. Now, it's the Sackler family who I believe founded Purdue Health or Purdue Pharma, and they were the creators of this pill. So it has come out in court documents, and I think all of the court filings are going to be made public Monday. They're currently blocked. Some of these parts are not redacted, so we can we could talk about some of these things. But it's really a crazy story considering all of the different aspects of this. But here's what this article from CNN says. It says a court ruling Monday in Massachusetts will expose details about one of America's richest families and their connection to the nation's opioid crisis. The Sacklers and member of their company Purdue Pharma have been named in a lawsuit that accuses them of profiting from the opioid crisis by aggressively marketing Oxycontin, claims denied by attorneys for the family in Purdue. Obviously, it's denied. They're bullshitting. Here's what it says. It says, in order, Sanders calls the defense protest hardly compelling enough to keep the information secret, adding that it's not intensely personal or private. It says the redacted pages, quote, appear to be discussions of tactics that could be used to promote the sales of Oxycontin, particularly in higher doses, to encourage doctors to prescribe drug over long periods of time and to circumvent safeguards put in place to stop illegal prescriptions. Quote, for many years, Purdue, its executives, and members of the Sackler family have tried to shift the blame and hide their role in creating the opioid epidemic. We are grateful to the court for lifting the impoundment in our complaint so that the public and families so deeply impacted by this crisis can see the allegations of the misconduct that has harmed so many. And so it goes on to talk about a lot of this stuff that they've been doing, which is absolutely insane. So here's an important piece of information as well. It says there have been previous lawsuits against the company, including one multi-state federal suit in 2007, settled for $600 million as part of a plea deal. The federal accusation was, quote, misleading and defrauding physicians and consumers, referring to how addictive Oxycontin is. And so this is not like something that's like, whoa, it's out of the blue, like, whoa, super random. Nah, this shit been happening. This shit like already has a precedent of existing. So there are a lot of things. So here it explains. It says Healy filed the complaint which names 8 members of the Sackler family, alleging they knew Oxycontin was causing overdoses and deaths, but continued to promote the drug. 9 other people currently or formerly associated with the company are also named in the suit. CNN has reached out to the attorneys for all the defendants for comment, but did not immediately hear back. Quote, they directed deceptive sales and marketing practices deep within Purdue, sending hundreds of orders to executives and line employees. From the money that Purdue collected selling opioids, they paid themselves and their families billions of dollars. So this is absolutely insane because there's the sheer illegality and the corruption going on here is absolutely insane. So what they did is they deceptively marketed their opioid, their Oxycontin, as it, not being as addictive, and you can and pressuring to prescribe more, and just purposefully. And this is supposed to be, and this is something that is supposed to be going to court when something like this happens. This is supposed to be Milton Friedman's answer to something like this, which is, it's supposed to go to court and they're supposed to get fucked over. So what they've done is they deceptively marketed it, but it goes a lot deeper than that. Now, apparently, they actually were giving kickback to doctors who would overprescribe their medicine. So they were literally giving pay to some doctors for overprescribing the medicine. And on top of that, this one is probably the craziest one. So this is where capitalism really is fucked up. So private emails revealed that they had actually talked about wanting to get into the the solution for the anti-addiction market. Okay, so people trying to get off addiction from the drug that they were selling, Oxycontin, they were trying to get in, I believe they did, to make more money. So they're going to make drugs to help people who are addicted from their drug. Can you believe that? That has to be illegal, man. That's insane. There's got to be something illegal about that. There's no, and you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the housing market and what happened in '08. That's what this reminds me of. It reminds me of the Wall Street execs at these big ass banks who would sell you these loans and be like, oh man, these shits are top of the line. You know what I'm saying? They got AAA rating from Standard & Poor's and Moody's. Check it out, fam. And then the second they sell that shit, they short the fuck out of it. What? That's insane. So this is a huge conflict of interest, and it's just fraud. Like, you're frauding people, and you're trying to get into the market of the drug that's causing these problems, especially at an alarming rate, because you're deceptively selling them. So you're deceptively making like, these aren't that addictive and prescribe this much. I think the stat comparisons of how much doctors gave in comparison, in the United States comparison, like country like Japan was like 3 times, and in Canada it's like twice. We prescribe twice as much, which is just absolutely insane, by the way. So these fuckers need to be locked up in jail for life because of what they've done, okay? This is worse than what drug cartels do, because the opioid crisis is serious. Remember, Trump I believe he had deemed it a national emergency at one point, because so many people have fallen victim to this addiction, because you get an injury, go to the hospital, you get put on these opioids, and holy shit, like, you're hooked. And I think that happened to the dude who played Matthew Perry, the guy who plays Chandler on Friends. I didn't know this until recently. He had, and I think he still is battling with it, an opioid problem, a painkiller problem, because I think he got into like a motorcycle accident, was given opioids, and I guess prescribed too much of them as well, and he's been fighting it ever since, and he hasn't been able to really fully recover. This shit is serious, dude. Getting over, serious opioids basically impossible. So the fact that you're deceptively selling them, you're giving kickback to some doctors, and then you're on top of that having a main conflict of interest in trying to make anti-addiction pills for the same pills that your bitch ass is selling unethically and what should be, and it is illegally, by the way. So they've caused so much damage to so many lives. They need to be locked up in prison. All the Sackler family who was on the board and who knew about this and had, something to do with the Purdue pharmaceuticals and all this shit, they need to be thrown in jail. That's for life. Thrown in jail, and give some form of restitution to the people who have been, some sort of a huge payout to the people who are victim of your bullshit, illegality. That's what needs to happen.